Welcome back to the Frizz and the Grizz podcast with your hosts, Trudeau and D.
Welcome back to the podcast. It's your boy Trudeau. D, are you happy you hear music this week?
Man, I'm happy to not only hear music, but it's a great Tuesday. Work has been straight. The weekend was fun. Like, I'm coming in here happy. Like, we had a great episode last week. I got a lot of energy for us today.
It's funny that you're in such a good mood. Well, it's not funny. I'm glad you're in a good mood because usually we get here on Tuesday pre-show, like shoot the shit for like a half an hour, and you're just like, bruh, it's been another week. So I'm glad to have the positive vibes. I need that today, man. I've had a rough one. I think you stole all my juju.
Potentially, but I'll bring the heavy hitters today. I think what's happening is we're so close to football. I think I'm just getting like happier and happier that it's right around the corner. College football is back. Well, I know you'll touch about that. Like, preseason football is over. A lot of people have gotten a lot of fantasy drafts completed by now. So like it's that end of summer fall kick. Like, now there's going to be something entertaining post work that like we can all like get together and watch. So it's a good time right now.
It's definitely been a grind with just baseball. I can mess with a few baseball games here and there. Man, every night it ain't my thing. So yeah, I'm glad football's coming back. We'll touch on college football today. I can't wait to ask you about college football because, listen, I will say myself, my forte is probably NBA, but I'm pretty versed everywhere. I get, without a shadow of a doubt, D, your forte, man. You love and live for college football.
It is my sport, man. Obviously, we both play it, so like it's not like it's something that we just talk about and don't know what we're talking about. Granted, we didn't play the D1 level like some of these cats, but it's still playing ball. And what I see it as, like, it's more, there's more emotion behind it. Each game means so much more. You know, you lose one game at the beginning of the season and it could potentially ruin the whole season, right? Saints start off 0-4 and you're just like, all right, they still got, another 15 games to try to make up. But like when it comes to LSU, the SEC, that's the conference that I'm always going to cheer for. One loss and it's like it derails your entire season that you just prepped 365 days for. So I'm here for it, man. And it's back, so I'm happy.
Yeah, so we're going to do college football about like middle of the show. I got a little game for D for college football, so I'm excited to try that out. He has no idea what the game's going to be.
Not even a little bit.
I didn't do any prep for the game. I hope I have some good music. I'll find that knee slap music we used for the what was that game called? Where You Been? So we'll break that back. I'll have a good time. We're gonna be weird with sports today. So college football. I want to talk a little FIBA World Cup. For those who aren't initiated, it's the equivalent of like the FIFA soccer, but for basketball. I know in America we don't really care about it, but it's been really fun. It's going on right now. We'll talk about that. I have a truth tellers. It involves I know baseball, yawn, but I think there's some fishy shit going on in baseball, and I want to uncover the truth on that one. Before we get started, you said a good week. My ass has been up since 4 a.m.
Ooh,
you know how it is, man. When you get that kid up mad early in the morning, won't go to bed. That was me this morning. So I'm running on fumes, but I'm gonna fight through for you guys and UD.
Well, we appreciate you being here for it. In all honesty, you just talked about obviously the little one, and I don't even know if we talked about it last week because Monday and Tuesday started off on such a high. My oldest started school last week, and like separation from like my youngest. So Monday and Tuesday were great. Like the missus dropped her off on Monday, nothing. Tuesday, I dropped her off perfectly fine. We did our show on Tuesday night. Good God, Wednesday through Friday were absolutely miserable. I've never felt like such a shitty human being. Like dropping off my child and her just crying. Like it like hurt my soul. Like I was like, I'm not a good parent. I'm not a good parent. Like I'm not doing this the right way. Like she's screaming through the glass, like da-da. And I'm like, I gotta go to work. Like, God. Like she's not going to, obviously, but like I'm like 30 years from now, she's gonna be like, you left me at daycare or school. But yeah. So I think that's where the energy is now, because it's like that week is gone. She's a little bit better now, but you're good.
It's funny because you came at me a long time ago, be Mr. Hard Ass Dad. Now you're like, I feel so bad dropping her off.
Dude, the thing is, I
Yes,
can't, right? I will be as strict as possible, but like there's still little things. That's the princesses, you know what I'm saying? Like daddy's little girls, that there's something about it where you're just like, good God, like I'm soft as baby shit when it comes to how much they have me wrapped around their finger at 3 years old. You know what I mean? Like that's ugh. But yeah, I don't wish that on anyone. Like if you gotta drop off the biggest tip I would give, if you got to drop off your little ones at school or daycare, drop them off, run out. Don't look back. Like if you turn around, that's when it's a problem because
it's
you start crying and you start crying.
I like the flashbang strategy. Like you just like distract with shit here and there, and they're just confused as hell, and you just piece the hell out.
Yep.
They know what hit them. They're like, wait, where did my dad go? Wait, what? Oh, I'm here at daycare. Okay, it's cool. By the way, free advice. Check out our fantasy football draft guide that we put out last week. Me and D went through the whole draft. We actually got a lot of traction. There was a lot of downloads in that podcast episode. I thought it was really good, and I think it holds up because I told Dee throughout the week, like, hey, I've been listening to more fantasy, like the big name ESPN shows for fantasy, and honest to God, man, I think they listened to us and stole our tips because it's like, the exact same stuff they're telling you, but ours is condensed to an hour. You have to listen to 10 hours of their bullshit and have 20,000 ads. Check our stuff out. You'll win your league. You'll win some money. And obviously, those watching live and listening, we appreciate you as always.
Not for nothing, too. And this is just a big shout out, not only the people that are listening to us live, but those that are going to download and listen to us tomorrow morning. Big shouts to the social media community. I think this was one of the first times outside of the March Madness, Music Madness tournament that we had, where people were actually asking for advice. The fact that somebody had reached out to you asking for potential trade advice on Twitter, like that's awesome. That means that people are listening, right? So like we do this because we have fun with it, but we also do it to try to help people if they have questions about specific sports. Not to say that we're reporters or analysts or anything like that, but we have our own insight, and it's really good just to see people coming together and like reaching out to us asking for advice with stuff. So again, kudos to everybody that's listening and watching. We really do appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you. Let's talk some sports.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you like the title. I wanted to talk with the FIBA stuff because I've been wanting to talk about it for like 2 weeks now. I've been interested into it because obviously I told you I love basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I find this World Cup to be always a fun thing because you get to see players who don't usually have a big role on their team play for their national team and just become like this superstar god. Who's like the guy in these tournaments, whether it be Olympics or World Cup for FIBA. It always meant like a Patty Mills, who's just Patty Mills in the NBA, but he's 30 points a
dominant
game. Mills, yeah. So it's been fun. I'm gonna give you like a quick rundown of what's happened so far. USA is coming into this tournament as the odds-on favorite to win the thing. Following them are Canada and France. We know, obviously, that France has already been bounced from the tournament. Huge upsets. So right now, it looks like it's a 2-horse race between the USA and Canada. USA's squad, we'll talk about other squads afterwards, but it's pretty good, right? It's not your A+ list of celebrity basketball players. It's not your Kevin Durant. It's not your LeBron James. But there are some really good players. I'm going to try to think of their starting 5. I think it's Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5, Brandon Ingram at the 4. The 3, I think it's Ant-Man.
Yep.
You have Jalen Brunson at point guard, and their shooting guard is Austin Reeves starting for them.
Mikal Bridges.
Yeah, Austin Reeves coming off the bench. They have a couple other good guys off the bench. Reeves. Paolo Banchero's been getting a lot of burn for them.
Walker Kessler out of Utah.
He hasn't been really playing, and then Cam Johnson, another name. So like those aren't your perennial all-star type players. I'm trying to think if any of those players have made an all-star team at this point, but like a good squad. They've been playing very well so far, undefeated in the warm-up games, undefeated so far in the tournament. D, have you had a chance to watch any of this?
Not live, a lot of updates and recaps. I still get the updates from the Lakers because of Austin Reeves. So anything that he does, I think he just scored 15 out of their last game off the bench. Anything that he does is something that like I'll look at as an update, and then I'll watch. All right, let's see how Anthony Edwards has been doing. I said that like a couple of weeks ago. I was like, hey, he looks kind of good. And I know you were saying it's like the practice games and whatnot, but like he's actually leading the charge for the team. So it's really good just to see these types of players step up. And who's to say that this doesn't basketball is like if you're always playing, if you're consistently out there, even when they're just at the open gym and they're at the Summit or they're playing at LA Fitness or whatnot, like they're playing against like NBA talent, right? So like it's just going to get them that much better. So if this makes those jumps faster for those guys, a Brandon Ingram who might have already peaked, but someone like a Anthony Edwards, a Jalen Brunson, obviously with the new revitalization in New York, and like a Jaren Jackson, like if it's another leap that they can get out of this, then kudos to them.
There's so many things I want to dissect of like what you just said. I think the first thing is the idea that this World Cup is actually like really good. I know we don't care as Americans that much about the FIBA World Cup, especially it's in the Philippines, so the games are on at like 4 a.m. and 8 a.m. But this has a really positive impact on the players who play. One big case study on this, I think, was 8 years ago on the FIBA World Cup team, not last time, but the year before or the time before. So it's every 4 years. Kevin Durant was on that team. And this was Kevin Durant when he wasn't the top 5 player, Kevin Durant. He was just on the ascent. And he had absolutely dominated the FIBA World Cup. And he used it as a place to launch his ascendance in the NBA, where maybe he wasn't trying all of his bag of tricks in the NBA. The FIBA World Cup gave him the opportunity with great coaches, because Pop was the coach, and I think Krzyzewski was the coach there as well at that point in time.
Assistant.
Getting great coaching, playing, and you know what the biggest thing is? It's not the opponent you're playing against. Every day you're practicing against your teammates.
NBA players.
Yes. So this is a great opportunity and I didn't finish. So after the FIBA World Cup 8 years ago, Kevin Durant had this breakout season. Then since then he's been a perennial all-star. But my point is, like, this is really good for the guys playing. So if you have one of those young guys at this tournament, you have to feel good about their development. You've mentioned Ant-Man looked great in the warm-up games. The stars so far, like, of this tournament for the USA in the 2 actual games, guy, look at me. D. Austin Reeves and Paulo Banchero have been the 2 like breakout stars in the past 2 games.
It's to your left. Can you give a virtual fist bump? Can you go to your left? That way. Bang. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, Austin Reeves has been awesome. He's only it looks like Austin Reeves is for real. Like, this isn't just a 1-year flash in the pan. He looks great in the World Cup. And guys like Ant-Man and Brandon Ingram are giving him the ball and be like, hey, this guy can play. Like, let's let him work. And that's just like he's getting the respect of the other guys. It's great. It's just great. And then from the coaching standpoint, you have 3 outstanding coaches. You know who's coaching this team?
I know Steve Kerr is one of them. I don't know who the other 2 are.
The head coach is Steve. So listen to this all-star coaching staff. Head coach Steve Kerr. Assistant coaches Eric Spoelstra and Ty Lue.
I did hear about that because it was Anthony Edwards that actually put out, he now understands what heat culture means. And like, that's, again, this is what you had talked about with Kevin Durant, 8 years ago. This is huge for, I think, that type of younger player, Anthony Edwards. I almost forgot probably the biggest name, Tyrese Halliburton. He has the keys to Indiana right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not Miles Turner. Like, it's not literally anybody else. It's Halliburton. And that type of coaching, you got Spo, you got Kerr, and you said the last one was
Ty Lue.
All legit championship caliber type coaches. Like, that is incredible to have. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. And I know that was my biggest point, was saying, like, it's not just they're just playing just to play. Like, they're out there playing NBA talent day in and day out throughout the summer. And yeah, you can go out, you can get your jump shots in. Like, we've all seen the workout videos of dudes that are just getting shots up. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying or devaluing it. But I'm saying when you're actually out there in game playing, you got to adjust to the FIBA rules. Obviously, it's different because it's not like the NBA. And then, like, you're playing in practice, like you were saying, we all talk about the Dream Team and like how good they were because it was Magic against Jordan. It was Hakeem against Patrick. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all-star versus all-star at the time, Hall of Famers now that we look back at it. And we're not saying that like, Anthony Edwards and Jalen Brunson are Hall of Famers, but they're all stars at their respective positions. So like they're going at each other every day in practice. Just going to make them that much better come the NBA season in October.
Yeah, I love it if you have a young player in there. And the US team has been very good for being like a younger base team. They look great. They're still probably the favorites to win this thing. Just a couple other things in the USA, and then we'll jump on some of the other teams. This isn't a gimme, by the way, right? 4 years ago, we competed in the FIBA World Cup. We finished in 7th place. And that, if you remember that team, that was a team with, I think at least 3 Celtics on it. I think it was
Jalen, Jason, and
I
Kemba.
thought it was Kemba I feel like Marcus Smart was on that team. So was it 4 Celtics?
I thought it might have been 4, but I know it's Jalen, Jason, and Kemba. I
Okay.
remember that because that was like the talk on sports radio. Because what's his name? He wasn't. Who's the coach that just lost his job? Now he's in Houston. Damn.
Ime Udoka?
I think he might have been related to that team also, which was
Oh,
part of
you're
the
right.
reason why he
Pop
became the
Smokes,
coach.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't think he was a head coach, but he was a
No.
part of it, which is what led him to be the
Yep.
coach in Boston. And when
Yep.
he got hired and they failed at that one, I was like, hey, man, you guys are looking at – I'm saying that that's how it was going to happen. They got to the NBA Finals, but like I remember making that joke, like you got Jalen, Jason, and Kemba, and you
Yeah.
guys are not doing great in FIBA.
The one thing about FIBA is that, from what I've heard, and I've only watched FIBA for a couple of years, is that a big benefit in the FIBA games is size, because they don't call it as ticky tack as the NBA. So if you're a smaller guard, you're not going to get a lot of foul calls, and so you're going to get lots of physical play. That team 4 years ago with Kemba at the point guard, it's a tough fit for the US. This team's more kind of configured for FIBA with size. Like, think about outside of Brunson, a lot of bigger guards with Halliburton and some of those other players. Yeah. And then one other thing to consider before we get into the other teams, I do want to talk about the teams really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out, NBA, because we all know what happened with the Redeem team. Was it 2008 Olympic Games, the Redeem team? Guys get together and they have a good time playing together in these international competitions. That's where Dwayne Wade, LeBron, and Bosh met, right? These sort of competitions, and this team seems very friendly, like they really enjoy being around each other. These type of competitions builds friendships and build chatter happens between these guys down the line. And hey, well, you're going to be a free agent next year. Like, you're going to come. Like, these type of tournaments build the super teams. So like, we might be planting the seeds of a Tyrese Halliburton coming to Orlando Magic and play with Paolo, or someone joining Austin Reeves in the future. You know what I mean? Like, it has an impact in the future.
It's good for the sport. It's definitely not a negative thing. This isn't a roster that I would like have any problem with if they got 2 max contracts. The whole Kyrie Irving thing. I wouldn't have a problem with that. It's like I said, I don't see Hall of Famers out of this where like, hey, you are the guy, you need to put the backpack on and lead your team to an NBA Finals. And if you can't do it, like, it's on you. I see this as like the next step superstar. Like we're at a time where there's the aging 15 to 20 plus years pro that's getting ready to retire. That class is getting ready to. So if this is the next wave, then let's just hope that they're ready to take that jump. Like that's going to be their responsibility, and they're showcasing it against the world right now.
One last note to wrap up, like the general FIBA stuff before we get into the other teams, is that this does count towards like Olympic qualifying. So there is also, outside of winning the FIBA World Cup, the idea of getting to Paris in 2024, if you can finish high in this, you get the qualification. Actually, really quick, one kind of disappointment for the US team. Like I told you, everyone's been pretty good so far. It's granted it's 5 warm-ups or 4 warm-ups in 2 games. Brandon Ingram, super disappointing so far in this tournament.
He's also complaining a lot from what I've heard.
Yeah, I think what the difference is and what I've heard the complaints are about is that when he plays in New Orleans, he gets more freedom to be a ball handler and do some sort of distribution and be a primary ball handler on that team.
Yep.
Not the primary ball handler, but be a guy who's a ball handler. They've asked BI to be more of like they said like I'm quoting Windhorst, a Kevin Durant or Carmelo Anthony role where we're going to give you the ball in like a high post and like you're going to just, one dribble shoot, like some sort of like just we're going to get you the ball and just you're going to get like use some skill moves to get a shot. And
He's
that's not
6'9" with a 7'4" wingspan. Like
but
that
he's not
should
what he's
be
used to.
true.
It's not his game, so it's been tough for him. I'm sure he'll figure this out by the end of the tournament. Other teams, though, we talked about France. They're disappointing loss. They lost the first 2 games. First to Canada got blown out. France and Canada were the second favorites to win this thing. France gets blown out. First game loses to Lithuania or Latvia.
Yep.
The second game, I forget what country it was. They're out of the tournament. That team was okay. As far as NBA talent goes, probably the second most talented. Gobert, I did that for you. I know it's Gobert.
Thank you.
Nicholas Batum, obviously at the tail end of his career. Evan Fournier, again, guy who doesn't play for the Knicks. And blast from the past, I brought up before the show, Gershon Yabusele.
What a name. Old Celtics, baby, old Celtics. But yeah, I said it already. Like, I'm not wishing on NBA players' downfalls. I just see it as like I still think Gobert is a disappointment when it comes to an NBA player, and they didn't get enough. They didn't have enough to get it done. At the end of the day, you can't lose to Latvia. Unfortunately, that's just not when you're a favorite. You can't lose those types of games. And we keep it consistent. At least I know you will. You gave the U.S. women's soccer team. Like you got on them, you bashed them when they're like, you were expected to be at least the top. I'm not saying you're going to win it, but at least be the top point getter out of your group. They couldn't even do that. So same thing goes with France. Like this is part of it.
Well, here's the most embarrassing thing, and you're going to love this to crush Gobert.
Mm-hmm.
They lose to Latvia. I think they lose by 2 points. No Kristaps Porzingis playing for Latvia. He's Latvia. He had the plantar fasciitis. In that game, now Gobert's probably the highest paid, at least, probably the best talent on the team. Whether you hate Gobert or not, he's probably the best player. One shot in that game. He finished with 9 points, 2 points off of the shot, and then 7 points off free throws. But that's embarrassing. Probably the second best team in the tournament outside of the U.S., Canada. Really, actually good roster. It's a roster.
A lot of NBA talent.
NBA players, yeah. They're starting 5. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, which is probably the second best player in the tournament outside of Luka.
Yep.
RJ Barrett, another max player. Whether you hate him or love him, Dylan Brooks,
yep.
an NBA starter. Maple Jordan, Kelly Olynyk, and then Dwight Powell. Like that's a very that lineup right there. I'm trying to think.
You don't forget Lou Dort. Lou Dort off the bench. Yep.
Let's just add Lou Dort.
I think it's Nicholas Alexander. There's a middle name that he has too.
Walker.
Nicholas Walker Alexander or something like that. He played for the Spurs at one point. Yeah, they're a good team.
Fill that bench out with like some average role players. That lineup's like a 30-win NBA team, like playing in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like that's a good team. So that's probably the best competition we're going to face at US, and they smoked everyone they've played so far. Just really quick, a couple other teams that are interesting. Probably the next best team out of remaining outside the US and Canada, Germany.
Okay.
A couple NBA players. They got the Wagner brothers. So Mo and Franz Wagner. Franz is probably the best player in their team. Actually, Dennis Schroeder is actually an international beast. Beast.
He's so fast.
Yes. He's good in FIBA. And then blast from the past, another Celtics blast from the past. Daniel Tice plays for Team Germany. It's not a bad roster. The 3-0. Australia, we talked about top of the show. Patty Mills, FIBA Patty's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Giddey, a very good starter for
ascending starter. Yep.
Matisse Thybulle, Joe Ingles,
good defender.
Past his prime, and then Dante Exum, top.
I'm surprised is he still even in the league anymore?
I don't think I'm gonna look. I don't think he's in the league anymore. That's a good one. We have to, by the way,
he was a top 10, 50. Yeah, are they still available? Are they still in the league? Yeah, I'd like that one. New 2K is about to come out, so yeah, I might be able to actually do some good names for it.
I think those are the best rosters, the ones we've mentioned. A couple interesting guys that are in the NBA. I'm just going to rat-tat-tat some of these teams with some NBA guys. Finland has Lauri Markkanen. They've been eliminated. Lithuania, I think they've advanced. They have Jonas Valanciunas. The Philippines, I'm pretty sure they got bounced. Jordan Clarkson. Montenegro, I think there's no contention. Nikola Vucevic.
Okay.
This was an interesting one. Do you know who plays for the Dominican Republic? I don't know if
Cat.
you've seen. Yeah, Karl Anthony
I did see
Towns,
that.
Dominican Republic.
Yep.
They
They're
have
3-0.
yeah, so they've advanced. That's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Here's an interesting story. I'll get back to the last interesting story. Slovenia Luka, which I think they're probably advanced. Serbia Bogdan Bogdanovic, Nikola Jovic. Okay. Spain has the Hernan Gomez brothers, and then Japan, Yuta Watanabe. One player I wanted to mention who's been like lighting up this tournament. Do you remember Rondé Hollis Jefferson?
Yeah, lefty.
Yes. He has been
Going
going off in this tournament. He plays for Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they've won a game. I might be wrong. I don't think they've won a game, but he's been averaging like 25, 26 points a game. And he's like completely reinvigorated his career. And I'm hearing from various like podcasts and stuff that this guy might have, through this tournament, earned himself potentially a roster spot back in the NBA after this, which is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he was out in Brooklyn. I think he might have lost time with the whole shit that went down in Brooklyn with the trading, the getting rid of the signing. I think he was just like one of those pieces that they were like, all right, we don't need you. So it's good to see that, and I'm all for that, man. Like second chances and like the revitalization of somebody's career. It's good to see because like just the notes that I've seen, like he went off for like 40 on Kobe's birthday. And he's like, this was for Kobe, so it was cool to see that.
So, have you heard about this him Kobe thing?
Well, he said that he was with him, so I
So
want to go too far with like I'm like, hey man, pay your respects. You know, Russell said that he dropped his 2020 and 20 for Nipsey. Like I got no problem with that, but if you were like, yo, he was sitting on the bench with me, I'd be like, oh hey, chill, brother. Let's not go too far.
Jordan, admittedly, I'm not getting up before him to watch Jordan basketball, but Brian Windhorst was saying on his podcast that this dude has like embraced the Kobe, and he is walking around the court with his mannerisms, he's almost adapted his jump shot. Granted, he's lefty. He has the Kobe wristband on the right hand. He's completely changed everything about him to try to become Kobe, and for some reason, like this dude just transformed his game and looks like a new man, which is the Kobe is with him, man. It's crazy.
I'm not against it. You know what I'm saying? As long as he's not talking reckless. If he's doing what he's doing and he's playing ball, hey man, all for it. I don't think he was great in Brooklyn. He wasn't good, but he wasn't like bad. And I think he just became part of that whole situation that unfortunately like broke down with Simmons, Harden, Durant, and Kyrie. He just was like the leftover piece that they were like, see ya.
Yeah, I mean, the FIBA World Cup's not for everyone. We're gonna probably move off this in a second, but it's fun, right? It's good basketball. It's competitive in the fact that like sometimes you watch an NBA game in the middle of I don't know, let's pick a month, February or January, and people are half-assing it. This is very intense basketball, physical because they're a little more lenient with the calls here. So I encourage you to just check it out. They're in the morning. USA games are on ESPN2 usually, probably 4 or 8 a.m. Fun basketball. Give it a go. You'll enjoy it. Trust me.
Absolutely. World champions of what?
All right, D. It's your time to shine, baby.
I'm so ready for this
action. I first of all, can I just say before we get positive about college football?
Yeah.
Why are we doing week 0 bullshit? It's like watching JV versus varsity the entire weekend.
What do you mean? Those games didn't count, or are you just saying that like it's just games that they shouldn't have even been on TV? These are warm-up games.
We're like
Bama's probably got the Appalachian State that are actually really good, but like Bama probably has like Arkansas, like Middle Tennessee State University of College Jefferson like scheduled for week 3. They always do that before they play LSU. So like whatever, you want to beat up on a team so that you can get them money, you can give them some money and get your guys to put up 700 yards. Whatever, I got no problem with that.
Oh, I'm just saying the quality is awful. There are at least this weekend. There's a couple good games. Obviously, we have LSU, Florida State, which I know you have circled on the calendar.
Yes, sir.
I think Florida and Utah is Thursday. It's a decent game. So like we're getting to a slate of actually worthwhile college football games. I'll let you take the floor where you want to talk about with the college football season.
I thought you were going to start with a ranking. With the game, but yeah. So I think this is going to be a big year for a couple of big players. I think a Caleb Williams, a potential Heisman Trophy winners, has got a lot to prove right now. I think he has the reins for being the potential number one quarterback, not only in the country but like out of the draft coming up for next year, and potentially being the number one, overall pick. And there's a lot of teams that have a lot to prove. Obviously, top 5 ranks out. We got Georgia as first, back-to-back champs, kind of easy with that. They got Brock Bowers, an absolute stud at tight end. Like this kid's getting comparisons of like Kelsey, Gronk, and like Kittle together. That's one hell of a combination of a tight end if you're getting all 3 of those as a comparison. You got Michigan with a potential last year stint for Harbaugh. Like that's up in the air. If he doesn't get a championship done, this season, he might jump to the NFL or something like that. So we'll see how that plays out. We got Ohio State and their unfortunate chances of falling short in the college football playoffs, but they got a lot riding on them with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think, yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr., the best wide receiver like in the country. This kid's up there with like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase type talent when they were in college. So I'm very much looking forward to them playing this season. Alabama is Alabama. They don't really have a quarterback that it jumps off the page. The last 3 years, Alabama got really, I won't say lucky, but they just hit on every single quarterback they had. When it goes down to Mac, as much as I talk crap about him, like in the pros, he was a great quarterback in college. They had Jalen Hurts before him, and they had Tua Tagovailoa. So, like, they've been on a really good heater when it comes to college quarterbacks that they've been able to produce. And then, obviously, number 5, the best number of all time. It's just LSU. We'll see how they go. And Jaden Daniels, who's a potential Heisman candidate. Second year, you said to give Coach Brian Kelly 2 years. So, like, I'm a little bit more, I would say, like, lenient behind this, but like now's the time to win. So that's how the top 5 ranks out for me.
I know Georgia's dominant. The teams I wanted to talk on was, first of all, USC. I don't know if it's just week 1 jitters, but I had bet on that game, so I followed. I didn't watch it, but at least at the early stages of that game, they were in kind of a little bit of I'm not going to say they were worried, but it was unsettlingly close for USC. Their defense seems to be lacking. I know they have Caleb Williams. They worry me a little bit. I'm curious if you're worried. And then also the Bama thing. So apparently they have 3 quarterbacks they like. They don't know which one to go with. And what concerns me about Bama, these are the 2 teams in the top 5 I'm a little concerned about. What concerns me with Bama is that if you think back to last year, they've kind of feels like they've lost their edge as far as we have all 5 top 5 defensive linemen. Like their talent depth is not as the golf is not as wide as it used to be. And they finished they had 2 losses or 3 losses?
4 last year.
Okay, so they had a bunch of losses with the future number 1 pick. So
I forgot about Bryce when I was going over the QBs. My bad.
Yeah, I don't know if they are the Alabama of olden days where you can just throw a Greg McElroy, like, I don't know, was Greg McElroy a quarterback for Alabama? Like one of those guys, a quarterback can still wins. So those are the 2 teams in the top 5 that I have a little concern about. Do you have any concerns about those 2 that I have mentioned?
Yeah, so USC is just outside of it. They're ranked 6th.
Okay,
not obviously as bad. No, you're good. You're good. Just want to let everybody else know. And so USC is a team that I have as yes, they're scared. They're in a scary situation. Caleb Williams is an incredible quarterback, but it is 100% that defense that they have to worry about. Like, there's not a star-studded player like they used to have. There's no Clay Matthews coming outside of the edge, or like, a Marcus Williams in the middle. There's no definitive, or I think there was even like a shutdown corner that they used to have. They don't have a solid defensive player, and you can put up 50 points per game, but if you give up 51, you lose, right? And like that's what it may come down to with Caleb. They're gonna put up points. It's just can their defense stop, and like that's what they couldn't do against teams like Utah last year, where Utah was able to slow down their offense and score just enough on their offense to keep them in the game and obviously take over a dub. They got, that same type of schedule. They got Washington, who's in the top 10, Oregon, who's just outside, Bo Nix trying to get into the draft, top 15 selection area. So we know that they're going to be a tough out. I have them as one of my dark horses. But the Pac-10 isn't the Pac-10 that it used to be. So if they play the way they're supposed to, they should run the table. But they definitely have a scary, I would say, schedule just based off of how bad their defense really is. Did you want to go on, or do you want me to talk about Bama?
No, yeah, you can talk about Bama. I want to share something on my screen really quick, and we could jump into that afterwards. But I'm curious how you feel about the betting odds for the. So you can go into Bama, but I'm curious afterwards how you feel about the betting odds for the college football playoff championship. I have them on the screen for those listening on podcasts.
Yeah, so Bama, again, the same thing. I think they've benefited the past 4, 5, 6 years with having great quarterback talent, in which the SEC is always about defense, defense, defense. But whoever had the best quarterback out of that conference typically won. Whoever had that type of year. We see Stetson Bennett back-to-back years. He's the best quarterback in that division, or at least that conference. We see Joe Burrow, who was there before them. And then back when they had Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, it was Bama. So now that Bama is starting to go down the rankings when it comes to quarterback talent, and it's week 1, you still don't have one. I'm looking at Jalen Milroe. I think he was up there. Ty Simpson was also up there, and Cade Kurth are like the guys that they're going back and forth between who they're going to start. None of those names jump off of the paper. I don't remember them being 5-star blue chip prospects as like the number one that you hear, like an Archie Manning. So like it's scary, and it doesn't matter, like I just said, how good your offense, how good your defense is going to be if your offense can't score points. And they don't have a star, I would say, on offense that typically is going to carry the load that an Alabama team is going to have, because their schedule is brutal. Like they got to go against LSU. Obviously, I think they're going to be at home this year because they went to LSU last year, but like they're at home. They still got to play Auburn. That's always going to be a battle. They got Texas, and they almost lost to Texas last year. So we'll see how it goes. I think they're on the road for A&M. It's a tough road, and if you don't have a dominant quarterback in that conference, it could potentially be a problem for you.
So I'm showing the odds. I got the odds up on the screen, right? So they have Georgia, obviously they're number 1 right now. They seem to be a huge gulf between Georgia and the rest of the class as far as the odds for them to win, as far as odds makers, plus 220. Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State are kind of bunched together, and then LSU, and then the rest of the class. So the top 5, Georgia's, has a huge, I don't know how you want to word it, but a huge advantage as far as the odds makers are concerned. Thank you. Here's the crazy thing, right? I was Googling. So I was listening to you, I promise, but I was Googling something. I Googled, has a college football team ever three-peated? Because just what Georgia's going for this year. They've won back-to-back years. You have to go back to 1934 since the last time a college football team has three-peated. So even like those insanely good Alabama teams of 5-10 years ago, they can only win 2 in a row. It goes back to 1934, 1935, 1936, where the University of Minnesota won 3 back-to-back championships. So maybe is that just the big? I hope that's not just the Big Ten, and I'm just misreading this, but it seems very, very improbable.
3 in a row. It's not easy because you typically lose. College football is the guys that are studs are usually sophomores and juniors. So they've already had their 2 or 3 years worth of eligibility, and if they're that good and they're that dominant, they're usually going on to the NFL.
I have a cool list too. Before there has been 6 teams in the past that has tried to three-peat. 2013 Alabama.
Okay.
I don't want to read the long write-up about what happened to them. I think did they lose to LSU that year?
2013.
Oh, that was kick 6. That was the kick.
That was they lost to Auburn.
2005 USC. I'm assuming that's a Reggie Bush USC.
That was also weird because one of them technically wasn't. That was a self-proclaimed back-to-back championship because LSU technically beat Oklahoma, but like USC finished higher in the poll, so they called themselves national champions that year.
Whack. So those are 2 of the 5. 96 Nebraska. I'm not familiar with that team. Then you have to go back to 1980 Alabama, 76 Oklahoma, 72 Nebraska, and that's it. There are 6 teams ever who have tried to three-peat in college football. None of them have been successful.
That is incredible. That I mean, it makes sense because of the turnover, but like that's still really hard to fathom.
I think when I said Minnesota, I think that was for the Big Ten title. My apologies. So I don't think anyone has. Which brings me to my question I've been trying to build up forever is like even though Georgia is the heavy favorite to come out and win the championship, I feel like history's saying no. And then I'm looking at everyone else in this board. Alabama, there's question marks. Michigan, Ohio State, one of those guys are gonna make it, not both of them. I hate to say it, dude. I feel like I really sneakily like LSU this year, just because I'm telling you, Les Miles in year 2, he
Les
needs.
Miles?
I'm sorry. Who's your
Brian
coach
Kelly.
now?
Brian
I'm
Kelly.
thinking about my guy from like
Don't
what?
don't talk about the disappointment in Les Miles. He got us a national championship, but he got it from Nick Saban's recruits.
Kelly. My apologies. Wasn't Les Miles famous for eating grass on the
Yes,
field?
Vescule. He would always eat grass, the Vescule grass, right before a game.
That's how you knew he shouldn't have been your coach. Yeah, I mean, if I'm betting LSU, Ohio State, those are the two programs I'm looking at with the where the lines are with them plus 750 and plus 111 or 110 or 1,100. I don't know how you pronounce that, but
1100, man. Come on.
dude, it's hard to read. I feel good about them. History is against Georgia. Alabama, you have question marks. Michigan question marks with Harbaugh missing some games. It's going to be an interesting college football season.
It always is. I hate to say is, but like what you have to look for, and I'm telling you, like mark my words and bring this take up, in 10 weeks from now, it's gonna come down to quarterback play. Georgia's not returning a quarterback. Michigan has a onesie twosie situation. Like they've always gone back and forth with McNamara, and I think there was another quarterback that they had on their roster. McCarthy, JJ McCarthy, and they had another guy, but like they don't know who's their number one. Ohio State just lost the kid to Houston, CJ Stroud. Alabama doesn't have a quarterback. Jaden Daniels comes back in the same scheme with the head coach that he was with. They had a really successful season last year. USC's got obviously Caleb Williams, but then you got Penn State. Florida State's a sleeper and a dark horse because they're returning a quarterback.
If they lose to Alabama week
No,
one,
I don't think Florida State LSU is going to determine. Yeah, that's week one. I don't think Florida LSU is going to determine them not making the college football playoff. Like we saw it
significantly harder.
Yes, but we saw it last year. We saw it last year that both teams controlled their own fate, even though one of them lost that game.
I feel better about LSU losing that game than Florida State because LSU has the teams in front of them where if they beat an Alabama, if they beat a Georgia, that helps the resume. If Florida State loses week one, they really with an ACC schedule, they really can't afford to lose another game, in my opinion.
I'm with you on that. And I can 100% agree. I think the only team they really go back and forth with is Clemson in the ACC. I don't think there's really much talent out there. I see North Carolina's in the top 25. Shout out to the U, baby. I'm gonna go to Chapel Hill and I'm gonna watch at least some of those games.
Hey.
I gotta get the girls to pick either Duke or North Carolina because we're not gonna be a state
North
fan.
Carolina, those games between North Carolina and Miami are always bananas. Like for some reason, North Carolina always has a crazy run game. They put up, I don't know, against Miami, like 200 yards every time they play.
So I gotta throw jabs whenever I get the chance to, especially at my guy JA from the Northeast. Did you hear about the quarterback? I don't even care about his name. I don't remember his name, and I don't honestly care. The quarterback for Miami of Ohio. Did you hear about what he said? So apparently, some reporter was just like, "Yeah, just when anybody talks about like the U, which school you talk about?" And he's just like, "What other Miami University school would they talk about?" I was like, no, this man isn't throwing shots at the U right now. And I was just like, Jared, I won't say his name, but I was like, yo, you can't have the University of Miami or Miami University of Ohio, where Ben Roethlisberger came out of, talking shit about the Miami Hurricanes. That's how down the Miami Hurricanes are. I don't feel bad for you guys. It's not your year. You're not back. You're like Texas. I'm sorry. Every year you guys are just bad. Stop thinking that like this year's your year, because it's not.
I do revel in the Miami Hurricanes being awful.
I don't mean to, but like I just laugh because they were so good for so long. And all it took was Maurice Clarett to just put an absolute knife in that hurricane, and they haven't recovered since. Literally since that Ohio State championship, they have not recovered.
Well, I love that you brought up Miami of Ohio because that ties into the game I have
Let's
scheduled
go.
for you. Are you ready to play?
Yes, sir.
First, make sure I have 2 sounds on my soundboard. I want to know which one's the winner and which one's the loser. That's the winner. All right, good stuff. Ready? All right. So what I have planned for you today, and you have no idea what I'm up to.
No.
You, like myself, love you some NCAA football video games, and I'm sure, like any good, college football fan, you don't pick the Alabamas, you don't pick the LSU's, you take your Louisiana Lafayette or whatever, and you work them up to being a championship team.
Absolutely.
It's why, in the nature of the college football season, I want to bring in the season right. I have a game for you where I'm going to give you random ass Division I FBS schools, and you're going to tell me what their mascot is, and maybe not the mascot, but what their team is called. So, for example, Alabama is called the
Rolling Tide. Crimson. Sorry. Oh wow.
It's going to go really bad.
Oh my goodness.
They're the Crimson Tide. LSU are the Tigers.
Yes.
I have a list of universities that are current FBS schools. Some of them were not FBS when you played the game back in 2014. I think that's the last NCAA football game, right? But I'm going to see how many you get right. All right?
All right. Let's get this.
And we can stop at any of these schools and just go with a random tangent.
Do my best.
All right. I'm going to keep score right here. The first team for you is the University of Troy. What are they called?
Troy. The Troy. It's a T. I know that. The Trojans. They're very similar to USC.
I don't know if you can hear the ding. Oh,
got that. Yep.
Yeah, the Troy Trojans. Do you know where they are, by the way?
Troy is southwest. I don't know exactly where they're out of, but
southwest.
Really?
Troy is in Alabama. University of Troy is in Alabama.
I thought they played in the Sun Belt, but yeah, okay.
They were in the Sun Belt. I think they might be in somewhere else.
The American Conference now?
Yeah, somewhere else now. But yeah, they used to be the tricky team in NCAA football. They always used to get really good because they were in Alabama. So like they would get all the rejects from University of Alabama.
Yes. So that was JA from the Northeast. That was his team when we would start a dynasty. Yep.
All right, here's one for you. This one was not FBS school when the game was out, but they are now. Arkansas State.
Ooh.
It's a tough one.
Yep. I'm going to go with Wildcats. Wolfpack. Ugh.
Close. You were close.
It's W something, I feel like.
They are W. They're the Red Wolves.
Okay. Yeah, I knew it was a W. I just didn't know what it was.
By the way, this game was inspired by me watching UTEP versus Jacksonville State on Saturday. That's where my Saturday was. Next question.
All right.
The University of Hawaii.
It's either the full name, which is the Rainbow Warriors, or just the Warriors?
Rainbow Warriors.
Yep. Yeah, I used to be them. That was my guy, Timmy Chan, quarterback back in the day. Timmy Chang.
Who was the RIP, by the way? He's passed away, but the Hawaii great, was it Colt Brennan?
Colt Brennan, yep. He was a great quarterback there, unfortunately.
Just a sling. He was a great quarterback.
It was unfortunate passing.
I know.
It was Colt Brennan, and there was a kid from Missouri that was really good back then too.
Oh, the quarterback?
Yeah.
Oh God, he was on the Bucs roster last year as a backup. He got drafted in the first round. I forget his name now. He ended up being.
You know what I'm talking about too. It's crazy. But yes, Colt Brennan and that kid from Missouri, they went back and forth with passing records.
Crazy. All right, this one might be a tough one. The University of Wyoming.
Cowboys. That's not a tough one. Yeah, it's an easy one. Their mascot is a guy with a cowboy hat and the Mustang. Yeah.
Ugliest fucking colors, by the way.
It's like burnt mustard and brown. What the hell? Like, who even put that? They used to play in a dome. I'm pretty sure they played in a dome back in the day.
If you could think of the most famous alum football-wise, as we go down this list, we'll name it. Josh Allen was a Wyoming Cowboy.
Yep. Forgot about that. That's probably why that's more recent for me to remember, but I do remember the mascot.
The University of Rice University.
Ooh, that wasn't a D1 team. They're blue. I don't got that one.
They are blue.
I don't got that one.
Rice Owls.
Owls. Ooh.
Do you know where the University of Rice is? Or Rice University? I don't think it's University of Rice.
Wait, they're in Texas.
They are in Texas. Yeah, they're actually apparently like a very. Apparently, Rice University is a very prestigious school. Like you have to have a really good GPA to get in there.
So if you actually put together all of it's an incredible number. There's like 12 D1 schools in Texas. Yeah. Like you could trip a fall and end up on a D1 team out there.
Well, is there another one on this? There is another one on this list.
Mm-hmm.
I feel you got this one.
Oh boy, that usually sets me up for failure.
Tulsa.
Oh, Tulsa Golden Knights. Golden Flashes.
That's Kent State, buddy.
Okay.
Golden Hurricanes. You were close.
Oh, okay. I know it's Golden something. Yeah.
And for those
who played the game in so long, man, it's been a while.
I see people join now. We were playing a little game where D's trying to guess I was a mascot. What do you say? The team name of shitty colleges.
Yep.
College football teams. All right. This one I could not remember. I'm thinking you got this one. You mentioned the school earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana Tech. What is Louisiana Tech's football team called? They're the blank.
They're blue, white, and red. I'm trying to get the.
They're in Louisiana, if that helps.
I get that. Bulldogs.
Hey.
Because they're close to Fresno. They're not close to Fresno, but their logo is very close to the Fresno Bulldogs.
That was impressive. All right, a couple more. Here's the other Texas team. University of Texas at El Paso, UTEP.
UTEP.
The game I was watching on Saturday that inspired this.
It's not Mountaineers.
Ooh, you are getting close. You're getting close.
Yeah, Miners. UTEP Miners. Let's go.
That was impressive.
Well, their logo is a guy with a pickaxe. Yeah.
Yeah. You know your college football, man. All right.
That's my shit.
We're going to get before we get deep into the Michigans, Middle Tennessee.
Ooh, that was my team too.
Oh, you better get this right.
Oh no, that's Attleboro. Attleboro's the Blue Bombardier.
You're so close. Fuck. I'll get you say the color. The color is there.
It's blue. It's blue, black, and white. I know that those are silver.
It's the blue something.
It's not Mountain. Raiders. Blue Raiders.
Raiders.
I was Middle Tennessee State in our dynasty that we had. I can't get that one wrong.
6 and 3. Let's try to get through a couple ones. The Michigans. Let's just go Central, Eastern, Western Michigan. Central Michigan is. You're never gonna get this one.
No. So I can see the colors maroon and yellow.
I don't know what this is.
Can you give me the first letter?
C.
The Chatcocklins?
Chippewas.
Okay. Nope.
I'm not going to accept that.
Nope.
Eastern Michigan.
They're green.
There's alliteration here.
They're green and white. Eastern Michigan. It's not Miners.
There's alliteration here.
I know, but I don't know what that means. Eastern Michigan. Wait, they're bird? Eagles. They're like the Philadelphia Eagles colors.
Yes.
The old school Philadelphia Eagles colors, like the 90s.
Letters, the same letters. Western Michigan. All right, Western Michigan. And I think of alum who just retired. Top 15 draft pick wide receiver Corey Davis, Western Michigan alum.
I don't got that one by any means. Nope, I don't got that one.
Broncos.
Ooh. Ew.
All right, I'll give you one more. For all the money, all the marble.
Oh boy, here we go.
Tough one. James Madison.
That's not a D1 AA school.
They are now.
They are now. Yeah.
They're in Sunbelt.
I'm thinking of the basketball team.
You're close. You're on the right track. James Madison University is the blank.
Give me the first letter.
D.
Dukes. James Madison Dukes.
Ty, I love Ty with that.
What happened?
Ty calling you out for the alliteration.
No, I had no idea what it meant by any means. I had no idea. Well, the thing that bothered me is you said Eastern Michigan Eagles, but
Eastern Eagles.
EEE would have been alliteration, not EME. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm no math teacher out here, but I'm pretty sure if no, so it can
I
be
think you're
a
right.
word in
I think
between.
you're right. I think you're right. I think I fucked it up.
Okay. Yeah,
I'll
tell
start
me
you off.
that's what I meant by I know, but I didn't know what the way that you were saying it because Eastern Michigan Eagles has an M in the middle of it. It's not like, Eastern. I'm not doing this. Eastern illegal. That's an I. I got nothing for you. I
It's all
just
good.
reminded me of that. What is it? Family Feud. When like, give me a guy's name that starts with the letter H, and he goes Jose. It's like, oh no, you didn't just say that.
Oh man. Hey, you
Uh,
won though. We got everyone ready for the college football season with shitty football teams.
that wasn't an easy one, man. That was tough. I haven't played
because
that game in so long for me to remember. There's like 150 teams, bro.
but like once you play at NCAA for I'm guessing you logged 100 hours of NCAA football plus,
100 hours?
probably more, right?
I think I've played 1,000 hours of 2K. Just this most recent 2K. I didn't leave my dorm room playing NCAA football. Like it was bad.
That's why I gave you the tough ones.
Oh my god, yeah, man. When that game comes out next year, it's going to be an
Who
absolute
was,
problem.
by the way, before we move off, when you started a dynasty in NCAA football back in the day, what was your squad?
I choose a 1-star. So that Middle Tennessee State was usually a team because they were a Nike prestige 1-star, like they got Nike gear. Trying to think who else would be a proper pick. I think Houston was a good pick back in the day because Houston used to be terrible, but you could get Texas recruits out of there.
Houston is going to be a possible ACC team soon.
Yeah, Florida Atlantic, Florida International. Those were good teams because they were out of Florida. Troy, like we brought up earlier, because that was a team. Excuse me, a bad team. Utah was a good one. Texas San Antonio.
I didn't need you to name off the whole goddamn.
I'm just saying those are teams that were really good 1-star teams that you could start over because like they would be Nike related. And obviously we don't got on Adidas and Reebok. Miss me with that shit. It's Nike all day, baby. We're not wearing Converse. Checks over stripes because that's what I like.
Marshall was the answer. The Thundering
Marshall. Herd. Oh, was that the last one?
Let's get some truths out.
Let's get it.
D, I'll try to make this short and sweet. It's been a long time since we donned the tinfoil hat.
Oh boy, here it comes.
But I've uncovered some wild shit and I need to share it. If you're unfamiliar with the truth tellers, this guy right here tells you the stuff the mainstream media doesn't want you to know.
Big media won't tell you the full story, but we will. It's time to open your third eye and hear the truth. This is the Truth Tellers with Trudeau.
That's right. The government doesn't want you to know these truths. Big baseball doesn't want you to know these truths. That's why we're the tinfoil hat, protect my brain from their radio waves. D, have you heard of a Mr. Tommy John?
I know about his surgery. Go ahead.
Yeah. Lots and lots of pitchers are getting the Tommy John surgery nowadays. It's not a new phenomenon, but the rates are going up and up. D, I did my own research. And I found that Tommy John surgery happens the most frequently over the past 5 years for the teams that have a top 10 record or better. So teams that finish in MLB, the top 5, 10 in the league, have a higher rate of Tommy John surgery. Why is that? It makes you think that Tommy John surgery isn't a random phenomenon, but rather teams are trying to win. And when they're trying to win, maybe they're not protecting the athletes. Maybe they're over pitching. Now, let me ask you this. This is the craziest out of all. What team, no matter how you slice the numbers, the years, consistently finishes the top 2 with pitchers getting Tommy John? So they have the second highest rate of Tommy John surgery amongst their pitchers.
Is that the Dodgers?
The Tampa Bay Rays. Why is that? Well, they're a good team, so they meet criteria 1. But let me ask you this. Does Tommy John surgery increase a player's value or potentially decrease it?
I see where you're going with this. It decreases it.
The Tampa Bay Rays, 28th payroll in baseball, notoriously cheap, very smart. They win by winning in the margins. Now, if we already prove that you can control whether a player needs Tommy John surgery by overworking them, and we know that the Tampa Bay Rays are all about the analytics, working in the margins to find ways to win, and they don't have the money to pay, do you think they're incentivized to protect their pitchers?
I hate what you're doing here.
In fact, look at Tyler Glasnow, who got Tommy John surgery 2 years ago and was on track to being one of the top 5 pitchers in baseball, gets Tommy John surgery, and the Rays sweep in and go, "Oh, poor Tyler Glasnow. I'm so sorry. I know your arms hurt. We can maybe give you a nice deal, a cheap on the cheap deal, keep you around, give you that protection, you guaranteed pay. Would you like that?" He says, "Yeah, that sounds great." And now he's on a sweet, cheap contract. I am suggesting that the Tampa Bay Rays are purposely overworking their pitchers to decrease their value and pay them on the cheap so they can keep them, because they know damn well that they can't pay them the free agent price. And that is the Truth Tellers with Trudeau.
Well, I don't want you to damage your hat, man. It's a nice tinfoil hat. I think you might be onto something. Correct me if I'm wrong. And for those that are listening that actually watch baseball, please chime in if you do. Isn't Tommy John a proactive? I know where it is, but isn't it a proactive injury also, where the pitchers that don't even have an elbow issue, they're recommending them to get the surgery so that they don't get it, because it's better to get it done so that you don't have it versus when you're on a heater, you then get it and you're shut down for an extended period of time.
So yeah, you can potentially rest and take off months, or you can just get the surgery and theoretically just be better. So let's say you rest for 3 months and the elbow injury comes back and you might get Tommy John anyway. It's almost like, well, let's just get it taken care of now. Dude, the list is insane. Just starting pitchers for the Rays since 2020. Shane McClanahan just got it. Jeffrey Springs this year. Shane Baz last year. Kitteridge last year. Tyler Glasnow 2020. Jalen Beeks. Johnny Chirios. Colin Poach. And then Drew Rousman this year was a UCL surgery, not Tommy John. So I think that teams know that overworking pitchers leads to this injury. I think some teams fuck it. We're going to go for a championship. Let's just overwork the guy. And if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. But I think the Tampa Bay Rays know that if the player hits free agency, they can't pay the guy. So it's a win-win. If we overwork him and he performs and doesn't get Tommy John, perfect. If we overwork him, he gets Tommy John, we can just give him some shitty offer on the cheap and keep him around for a couple more years.
I mean, you're always going to look at things from the GM side of perspective. You have always done that. I think that's
terrible.
I'll just go to that's awful to hear, but I'm not going to disagree with it and say that that's something that can't potentially be happening behind the scenes.
The NFL and running backs, you grind those rookie running backs to their feet fall off, and then when it comes to paying them, they're like,
don't want to pay them
now. the same thing with pitchers in baseball. Well,
Yeah, man, that's an incredible comparison and unfortunate one at the same time. But yeah, man, I'm usually I'm on the fence. I'm like, I don't know where you're going with this one, but like I think I do agree with you
that
that
might
it
be
could be you could. I mean, I'm sure this isn't breaking news. We're not the
you.
first
You
people to
want
like
this?
bring this up. No, I don't want that goddamn hat. And I'm not wasting my damn tinfoil. I needed to cook the meats in the oven. But no, and I think you might be onto something for that. That's for anybody that watches and listens to baseball. Like if you got a chance to chime in, please feel free to in the chat.
Well,
I think that is something, especially with the names that you just listed off just in the past 3 years.
we know that this sort of overworking leads to Tommy John surgery. Look at Shohei Ohtani this
Oh,
month.
yep.
He took a couple starts off because he had elbow issues, elbow soreness. They decided to throw him back out. I mean, obviously he was like, "I'll pitch, yeah." They threw him back out. One start later, totally ripped the tendon in the elbow and needs Tommy John surgery. So like, there are warning signs, and teams can choose to ignore them.
I heard that messed up his like overall value, which I doubt it. Like he'll still get paid 500 mil, but like, good God, what are the chances? Like, just imagine that. Like, hey, we need you. I know we suck, but like, we need you out there. And like, all right, cool, yeah, I'll go out there because I like playing the game. Then you get hurt, and they're like, whoa, since you got hurt, like, I don't know if we can pay you now.
You say that it does not going to influence his value, but you know me, I'm thinking through the front office perspective. Pitchers don't often come back from 2 Tommy John surgeries, and he's already on number 2. So if you're making him a contract offer, you're going to say, well, you know, we were going to give you $100 million a year because you're both a pitcher and a hitter, but now you're really only a hitter.
Still a $500 million hitter.
So
you can't tell me he's not.
Yeah, baseball's weird though. There's collusion and not collusion in baseball.
There's 100% collusion with baseball. Like them contracts are guaranteed. Bro, I heard something just in the most recent, again, this is just one of my tangents. I don't care either. Mookie Betts just played in Boston, and like I remember, the Dodgers just beat the Red Sox. Like they beat the brakes off of him too, and he cracked the home run when I was watching it over the weekend, which was hilarious. But like, he was interviewed and he was like, look, I need to clear the air with this. Like, I never received a $500 million offer from the Red Sox. And it's like, you hear that now and you're just like, wait, what do you mean? Like, why didn't they try to keep you as like, you know, a player on the team? It's like, because they're cheap, obviously.
Yeah, they want them cheap.
But like, yeah, but like it's just weird that like you homegrown that type of talent and you don't offer. Yeah, well, it was also the talk like, oh no, he just doesn't want to be in Boston. Like they tried to like talk his name down during the contract talks, like before the trade. Like they were like, nah, he doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to come back. Like he doesn't. We offered.
He doesn't want to be there for 300 million. He'd be there for 400 million or whatever.
Well, yeah, obviously, like, well, yeah, we offered him a contract. It was 10 years, 100 million, and he turned it down. What? Like that's not offering him a contract.
Do you know how often that happens in sports where it's like, oh, we tried to offer that we're like, it's basically the team does not want to pay market value. So they're going to tell fans we offered a contract and they just lowball the shit out of the player. So it's like, it's basically letting someone go to free agency, but not making it appear you're letting them go to free agency. You know what I mean? So you just lowball to the point where you know it's not going to work out.
PR wise, the same thing that Irsay is doing with Jonathan Taylor right now. Literally the exact same thing. And I know we're not going to talk too much about it because like we're gonna wrap up, but like the contracts in sports are just, especially for running backs, it's so fucking disturbing. Like hey, go seek a trade. But like the team's like, oh, we want 3 first-round picks for him because he's worth that much. And then Johnson's like, well, then why don't you pay me like I'm worth 3 first-round picks? And they're like, well, we don't want to do that. We just want the picks as if you were worth 3 first-round picks. Like that makes no fucking sense.
Yes,
but
it does.
No, it doesn't. No, it does. It does from the GM. It does from the business standpoint.
You know what they're trying to say?
And it's the reason why running backs are pissed off right now and have to take 1 year, 1 year, $12 million deals because they don't have they won't get the longevity deal anymore.
You know what that they're telling me by making that stance is that
they weren't going to play him at all.
We want Jonathan Taylor. We don't want to pay him. So we'll make the asking price ridiculously high so that he can't leave and has to stay here and he has no other option. So there's an illusion where like, hey, you can go find a team, but like they're setting him up to fail because he won't find another team.
100%. They asked for 3 first-round picks for a running back.
Yeah, ain't gonna happen.
That makes no sense whatsoever. I digress. Another topic.
I'm proud of us. We talked about this was the most baseball we've talked about the entire combined Star podcast.
And it most likely will be the last time that we talk about baseball until next summer. So kudos to those MLB fans. We tried to do it with Ellie De La Cruz. Probably would have.
You mentioned 3 different players. I'm proud of you.
I mean, I tried my best to watch baseball this year. I tried as much as I could, and if homie didn't get injured, who's the song that we listen to it when we're checking out? Who's the pitcher, the relief pitcher?
Oh, Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, if he didn't get hurt, maybe I'd have watched even more baseball because I would have heard his intro music, but we unfortunately don't. But we gonna hear it now. Go ahead and play it.
Time.
Let's get it.
The show is coming to an end. But first, it's time to get to anything we've missed. It's closing time. 1 segment, 2 takes. Now go.
That's right. It's closing take. Time for us to get the hell out of here and get to bed. But first, a couple things that we missed from the show. D, I'll let you get started tonight.
You want me to do this one? All right, first let me pull this up.
All right, I'll go first.
Go ahead. I didn't know you'd throw the alley-oop for that. Go ahead.
I wanted you to slam that thing home. I wanted to mention the Spain FIFA World Cup scandal. So many layers to this. So the Spanish women's team, many people don't know in the Women's World Cup, they were without several of their top players because they decided not to play because they were protesting against the current manager. So not the president, but the manager because of training tactics. So there was already a shit ton of beef with this federation to going into the World Cup. Flash forward several months later, Spain wins the Women's World Cup. Now this is the president, not the manager of the team, but the president. So this is multiple layers here. All right. And let me say this, the president is in charge of the manager. There was no punishment. The president comes over to one of the star players of Spain after winning the match, grabs her, gives her a big old kiss on the lips.
Plants one, bro. Don't undervalue it by saying kiss, bro. He planted one directly on the lips.
Now I know Spanish culture is different. I know a lot of Portuguese people. Back from New Bedford, you give the
Labis, baby, the Labis.
Side, mwah, 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 mwah. You don't make out with the person. So it gets worse. Because this man is obviously this is where we are in 2023, where if you get in trouble, you dig deeper and you don't apologize. Refuses to resign. So now we have a coach under fire who hasn't been fired, a president that refuses to resign. The man is now suspended by FIFA, and he has his mom, yes, his mother, going on a hunger strike to protest this man's innocence. What the fuck is going on? This is insane.
So I saw this story, and it was you could see the escalation of it happening. Of Spain president, gives a little smooch, and it's Spain president kisses the entire team. Spain president makes out with one of the star players. Spain president grabs the ass. It's it just got worse and worse as the story went on. I was because I watched the video and I was whatever. He gave him a kiss. Then he picked one of the girls up and full pick up, and I was oh, okay. If I'm in the stands and that's my woman, I'd be like, hey, what you doing? Put her down. And then when he kissed home girl, I was like, no, you did. It was 4 straight of questionable things that you could have done. But with the kiss, I was all right, that makes all those other 4 women that you did prior to, it makes it even worse now.
In the mother's having a hunger strike in solidarity. Can I put a cherry on top of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, if you didn't know this, I'm sure this girl, because this guy apparently made out with everyone and grabbed everyone. One of the women on the team, her father passed away during the game and she found out after the game. So you go from getting made out by this creepy old man to learning your dad died. This poor Spain women's soccer team,
bad.
Yeah, so bad, man. Take us away.
I will. I'll be a little bit more positive for it, but not positive for those that got to go against me. So I know that we put out an incredible fantasy football draft recap and prep for you guys last week. I want to give a big shout outs to everybody that's in my Taunton League that was able to get me the 3rd pick. And again, you guys are all playing for last place and second because you're not going to get first. Big shout outs to Yahoo for this headline. This is what I got. Big Nick Energy dominates the draft with an A+ grade and projected first place finish. Grade A+. Y'all want to hear what you allowed Frizz to do? And I'm telling you, listen to Trudeau, listen to Frizz. We will get you guys to the top of your ranking to win some bread. Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Josh Allen, DJ Moore. Like hit after hit after hit after hit. You want to know what I got banking on it? Because I know he's going to come back. Alvin Kamara. You want to know who's going to be one of the best tight ends this year? Pat Freiermuth. Like, y'all let me get these guys. I told you that I was going to go draft them literally 7 days ago, and you still let me get them. So I'm sorry that y'all playing for second place. You let me do it again. For those that got to draft with me on Saturday, don't let me get these guys, right? Don't let me be the top dog, because if Big Nick Energy has another great, solid draft, like, it's just going to be bread after bread, and we're going to be eating steak and lobster in February again. Like, that's just what's going to happen.
So let me get this straight. You have the opportunity to talk about anything in the world, sports, pop culture, to close out, and you talk about your own goddamn fantasy football. Do you think a single person out there cares about your fantasy football team?
I could care less what anybody else thinks about my fantasy football team, because this is my closing take. This ain't your closing take. Hit us up with that music so we can get up out of here, because y'all was wrong.
All right, D, let's get the people out here. Let's find the closing out music. You can get people out here, right?
I'll stop yelling. No, appreciate you guys jumping in here. And like I had mentioned before, like we always mention, every time that you guys are in here listening to us, like, it's all love. We really feed off of your energy. I don't even care about your notes, bro. Go on about your business. For those that found us on Twitch, thank you for being here. For those that found us on YouTube, thank you for being here. And those listening tomorrow, make sure to hit us up on all the socials: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. Obviously, you can go to our website, frizzandthegrizz.com. We will have merchandise sooner or later. We just need for you guys to support us. Hit us up with that sub, hit that like, hit that comment, all that shit. When you guys are heading up out of here, please make sure y'all take care of y'all mentals. Make sure you take care of y'all physicals. Take care of y'all chicken. Take care of y'all children. And we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Be safe, fellas.